Okay, this
Do you
is
want
the
Jeff to do it?
2021
Nice.
Marion County Budget Committee. We're meeting virtually today because of the executive orders and the coronavirus. Part of us are meeting in the Senator hearing room, and some of us are meeting virtually through electronics. It's been our custom to start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance, and we're going to continue that today. Commissioner Cameron has a flag there, and so if you will join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the
republic for which it stands,
one
nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm gonna go put the flag back in its hole and I'll be right back.
So we're going to call the meeting to order. First item is to elect a chair and a vice chair. Entertain a motion.
And Patrick, you've done such a wonderful job. I'll make a motion that you be elected as chair, and the chair of the Board of Commissioners is traditionally the vice chair.
and I'll second it.
And that's Mr. Willis, and he just ducked out for a second. So
Mr. Vance,
give him a
We
second.
have a-
we have a quorum.
Yeah.
Okay, Vance for chair and Commissioner Willis for vice chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Commissioner Willis, you're the vice chair.
Great.
Next item on the agenda is a motion to approve the February 2020 minutes. Staff distributed those. Our February 18th meeting. So you've had a chance to take a look at those, so we'll entertain a motion to approve and accept those minutes.
This is Sam, I'll make that motion.
Okay, thanks, Sam. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second, David, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. The minutes are approved and accepted. Thank you to the staff. Third item is a motion to adopt budget committee procedures. This has been something we were advised several years ago by council to do with the changes in public meetings and social distancing and face masks and things. Staff has gotten together with the legal counsel and drafted a revised set of operating rules that recognize things like remote meetings and so on. You've had a chance to look at those, and they redlined all of the changes. So without going through them, we'll entertain a motion to accept the revised minutes to govern our procedures for this session.
And I'll make a motion to accept the revised meeting procedures for the Marion County Budget Committee.
Thank you, David. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
2 seconds. Denise, thank you. The next thing then, is there any further discussion about that? That's real clear why we're doing it. You had a chance to look at it, and we like to believe that that we're in compliance with statute and with the executive orders. So we'll entertain a vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Moving right along. Jan Fritz, you're up. Now this is a time for the budget officer's message. There's Jan.
Good morning,
The
Chair
floor is
Vance.
yours.
Oh. Can you see the budget message? Yes? Can't hear anybody. Can you see the PowerPoint slide? Nobody's answering. I guess I'll start.
I don't know if they can hear you.
Can you hear? Sam?
Yeah, I hear.
I can hear. I'm sorry, I disconnected, so I had to come back with my phone. My computer's internet's not working, so I'm here. I'm back.
All right.
Well, good morning, Chair Vance, members of the Budget Committee. For the record, my name is Jan Fritz. I am the Chief Administrative Officer for Marion County. And this morning, I'd just like to say a year ago when John Latimer was sitting here, he said, and I quote, "Jan and I think an awful lot alike, and we've worked together all these years. So any future budget is probably going to be the same, and you aren't going to get anything to change." Unfortunately, I think that just did not come true, maybe for the first 8 months, but we have been living in change for the last 3 months with the virus. And so I'd like to go through and talk about what has happened the last 3 months at Marion County with coronavirus, what's the county's responsibility, what we have done as a response to the virus, our financial strategies, our budget, and then at the end, some of the challenges and the opportunities in the future. So, all right. So, in December of 2019, the new virus traveled around the world and hit China. But in February, it hit Oregon. The first case was in Washington County on February 28th. Marion County's first case was March 7th. And on March 8th, the governor declared a state of emergency due to the public health threat posed by coronavirus. So the long-term health and economic consequences at this point are still unknown. The national and state unemployment rate exceeds the Great Recession of 07 and 09 and rivals the Great Depression. National unemployment rate has soared from 3.5% to 14.7%, or 5.8 million people without a job to 23 million. That was through April, and this morning I heard it's 40 million. So, keeps getting worse. In Oregon, the unemployment rate is more than 17% currently. And in Marion County, the rate went from 4% in February to 17.8%, with more than 20,700 people unemployed in Marion County. The claims at this point would be $105 million, and they're continuing to grow. So it's a lasting impact on people's lives and every economic sector within Marion County. Board of Commissioners, by state statute, is the local public health authority. It means they have the responsibility for managed public health threat that's currently in Marion County. They also have the power and the authority to address matters of county concern. So they have delegated, in part, some of the work to the Health and Human Services Department and the Public Health Division, who is leading the response out there with an incident commander, Katrina Rothenberger. The Health and Human Services Department opened a Departmental Operations Center on March 2nd in order to mobilize the public service to help get their contact tracers and their core function, which is to identify, test, trace, monitor, and prevent the spread of disease. So they are working in partnership with Oregon Health Authority, local hospitals, healthcare providers, first responders, and community partners to stop the spread of COVID-19. To date, I can't even hardly see that. To date, Marion County has 898 positive cases. There are 8,864 negative tests, and sadly, we've had 25 residents die from the disease. However, the county its mobilization has been unprecedented and very impressive. On March 16th, the commissioners declared an emergency in Marion County. On March 21st, they came together on a Saturday, closed the county buildings to the public. The services remained, But it wasn't until March 23rd when the governor issued her executive order to stay home and save lives. The elected officials and the department heads of Marion County have met weekly those first few weeks to communicate with their staff. We have individuals in our care, in the jail, in juvenile detention, and in home health settings. So they've communicated with their employees. Most employees have gone home and are teleworking. So, all right. Within 2 weeks. So here's a little example of what's happened since we had our first case. We created an internal task force. We've developed new emergency policies on telecommuting and social distancing, adopted by the board. The Federal Family Cares Coronavirus Response Act, we created the policy and the procedure for that with with HR and with benefits. We've put in place new sanitation and risk protocols, have been implemented by business services and risk management, put up new plexiglass safeguards on countertops, and handed out masks, gloves, and sanitizers, which are available for all. We put together a public information team immediately on March 8th. It consists of Marion County employees from the board's office, from Health and Human Services, and they communicate daily with the residents, with Marion County employees and the media. They respond in communication in multiple formats, multiple languages. We've created web pages, we've sent emails. They respond to the media, the residents, and the employees. They write and coordinate press releases and coordinate commissioner interviews throughout the process. The Information Technology Department had deployed hundreds of mobile devices for employees who were now moving to telecommuting and remote work, and continued to numerous requests for technical assistance trying to get the computers to work when everybody got home with them. So, emergency management, public works, and the sheriff's office have provided support to the public health division, first responders, medical providers, and other agencies. They're coordinating the inventory and the distribution of PPE that's coming from the National Guard, stored at Public Works, delivered to hospitals, and other care providers. The Sheriff's Office has also helped with that and has assigned a couple of personnel to work in the Department Operations Center in the Health Department to assist them. The Board of Commissioners, staff, and County Counsel have written emergency declarations, board orders, policies, and procedures, participated in dozens of meetings with federal, state, and cities and community partners. We probably had at least 20 meetings a week. We had one with the White House. It was every week. And at one point in time, they had 7,000 people on a conference call every week. And President Trump came on, told us what he was going to do for counties and tribal governments. So that was interesting. We've scheduled numerous meetings, documented. Our administrative staff have had to do the minutes for all the meetings. We've set up virtual meetings. We've had hundreds of conference calls. We've worked with the governor's office. However, the residents and the businesses have incurred significant economic losses. Commissioners have collaborated with economic development staff and with Willamette Workforce Partnership to provide $1,000 to $2,500 grants to small businesses, and almost $1 million had gone out in lottery funds to small businesses throughout Marion County. Within the first 24 hours, we had over 1,000 applications for the grants. So it was very needed, very necessary, and they were the first ones to get that out the door. Commissioners delivered masks to the local chambers of commerce so that businesses, farmers, farm workers would have PPE available during harvest time. And the commissioners, along with public health, have put together rapid and targeted assistance to communities. We have meetings every week with North County, South County, East County, and for discussions on what's happening. We talk about public health and answer any questions that they may have. And then finally, Barb Young has spent 2 weeks. Things move at a pace that's really quick. She spent 2 weeks with everybody creating the community roadmap for a limited reopening of Marion County. We were meeting the 7 prerequisites the governor's office had required. With some modifications the following week, we were approved to reopen Marion County last week, and on Friday, businesses opened in Marion County. So the budget is a total of $466,010,709, and the general fund is $107,849,047. We took a conservative approach with a particular focus on the budget for next year on managing and recovering from the crisis created by COVID. We're looking at management strategies in the short and the long term so that we keep Marion County financially strong. For the proposed budget, I have set aside $2 million in reserve. County General Fund reserves total $14.1 million, or 15.2%, higher than we've had. The General Fund unappropriated ending fund balance is $7.5 million, or 8% of General Fund resources. I've increased the contingency to $2.2 million, and for the first time in the category of reserve for future expenditures, I've set aside another $2.1 million because we can have access to that money during the year in a supplemental budget process. Let's see, the rainy day fund has $2.3 million in it, and all of that together, the $14 million, exceeds the financial policy requirements and GFOA recommended best practices. In March, when the crisis hit, we were in the process of labor negotiations with 3 of our unions. In cooperation with the union leadership and the members, we all agreed to focus on the crisis, and we reached agreement with all 3 unions prior to the end of the fiscal year. I don't think we've done that in over a decade for any unions of these 3. It's a 2% COLA for 2 years, a $50 increase in the health insurance cap, and a 2-year bargaining agreement. So I'm very thankful that we could come to agreement and move forward and leave all of us to focus on the crisis at hand. And I'm grateful for their leadership and the flexibility that they were willing to work with us to get those contracts signed. So it's MCEA, Marion County Employees Association, the Oregon Nurses Association, and Marion County Juvenile Employees Association. So I appreciate that. All right, significant changes in resources for the budget next year. There's a countywide reduction in net working capital of $10 million, or a 7% decrease, mostly due to reduced revenues and a completion of major capital projects. The Juvenile Services Building has been completed. Several IT projects have been completed. And there's a $1 million reduction in federal revenue from the Oregon Department of Transportation that's passed through to Public Works. The new coordinated care organization has a revised funding model, so it decreases intergovernmental revenue by 7.8, but it's partially offset by an increase in charges for service of 11.7 million. Property tax revenue is our largest general fund resource. It's budgeted at $78.8 million, up from $76.4, or an increase of $2.4 million. Our initial projection was 4.2, and we determined we were going to reduce it and be conservative at 3.6. It was about a $500,000 difference. So the reduction is really due to the uncertainty in the property tax collection due to people not having jobs any longer, the potential decline in new construction and building, and the timing of the economic recovery will affect that as well. We have spent about $2.1 million already on responding to COVID within Marion County. So we are looking at grant opportunities from FEMA and others. There is a federal state reimbursement amount that we are working on. I think we're submitting it Friday, unknown how much we will get back. But when we do get it, it's not budgeted in next year's budget, so we'll account for it in the first supplemental if we get some. All right, significant changes in requirements. Department budgets only increased slightly. Personnel increased $6.1 million, or 3.7%. It includes merit COLAs, health insurance, and PERS costs. And the Compensation Board, which every year annually looks at elected official salaries and makes recommendations to the Budget Committee on their salaries, determined that the sheriff's COLA should be 1.19%. due to the fact that if they gave the 2, it would exceed the 5% mean, and a 2% COLA for all the other elected officials. And due to the economic environment currently, they decided to forego any other raises to people's salary. That is included in every department's budget that has an elected official. In materials and services, there's a decrease of $1.8 million, mostly lottery and economic development decrease of 1.4, and general fund non-departmental consulting services. Administrative charges were 2% this year, and debt service payments are budgeted in accordance with scheduled payments and comply with all obligations. Departments submitted 26 decision packages totaling $1.35 million. 11 requests were approved as deemed necessary in the current environment, and the budgeted positions for next year's budget are 1,517.73, with a net increase of 1.21. Capital improvement projects. We had several carryover projects for facilities and information technology of $9.3 million, so we're hoping to complete all those projects next year. And we authorized new projects approved are $1.4 million and determined to be necessary projects. Public Works has capital improvement projects also in their budget. They are carrying over $11.9 million in capital projects and $12.4 million in new projects, primarily roads, bridges, and ferries. All right. So the outlook. We just heard the state of Oregon's revenue forecast on May 20th, and it is a $2.7 billion shortfall. We also heard perhaps because the governor can only do a reduction that's across the board, and the legislature has to be called back into session in order to make any changes to that. And because we're heading into the second year of the biennium, the governor asked for a 17% decrease. So it was an 8.5% in year 1, but the fact that they have to absorb all of it in year 2 makes it a 17% cut to the agency budgets. We are looking mostly at a considerable impact, probably to the funding of state and county shared services. There are possible reductions for the counties in Medicaid funding, community corrections, juvenile crime prevention funding, lower gas taxes. No one has been driving the last few months. I guess they're picking up now. But that was a steep drop, as well as lotteries. When the bars and the restaurants closed, all lottery money stopped. That has taken a significant hit for Marion County and other counties that get lottery proceeds. And then other revenues and fees, or other fees and taxes. So the budget team will closely monitor all the funding streams that we get from the state, and we'll make immediate adjustments so that we're continuing our strong financial base. So budget changes for next year. We have a new Human Resources Department. We've worked an entire year on that. The commissioners gave me authorization to create a new department last July and hire a new Chief Human Resources Officer. And we brought her on board in February, so she's been helping with the transition. It was perfect timing during the COVID crisis because all the policies and procedures really needed her help, so that was very helpful for us. They have a budget of $2.7 million with 19 FTE, and I authorized 1 FTE, an additional position for Countywide Leave Administrator. This increases the number of county departments now to 16. And the department is budgeted for the first time July 1st. In addition, we have a countywide culture committee that has approximately 40 individuals from every department represented that meets monthly. They've been incredibly helpful through this crisis as well. They engage county employees, they're communicating, they're looking into developing training opportunities and improving employees' work experience at Marion County. We had a new auditor for the county this year, Moss Adams LLP, hired and did our 2018-2019 financial statements with an unqualified opinion. Also, we hired them for 2 special projects. The first one was to evaluate our current budget forecast model and make recommendations for it to be stronger, which we are looking at and evaluating for next year and taking some of those recommendations to heart. We also asked for another report on general fund priorities and expenditures, on how we spend the general fund, what departments it goes to, what for, and in light of the current environment and the future unknown environment, it will be a great report for us to get. It's not quite complete yet, but we're hoping to have it within a month. All right, managing through the crisis. Short term, we will implement, when COVID started, we created a project tracking number immediately, which has been very helpful. All departments are using that number, so when we're looking at reimbursement, we're able to pull that all together and get the accurate information. We will monthly monitor all revenue sources and expenditures, regularly assess the environment of the state and local economy, and actively seek grants and federal and state reimbursement for the COVID crisis. Long term, we will follow GFOA's best practices. We had a meeting with the treasurer a month or so ago. We will maintain a strong cash position, which is very strong currently, monitor cash flow, cash on hand, and year-over-year trends. We will anticipate if short-term borrowing is needed and deal with that at the time. We have the best budget and finance team ever. They've been really good and worked so hard. They come and pull me out of a meeting or wait for me to get out of a meeting. And they've done a tremendous job. I think it's very clear if you look at the notebook, if you look at the schedules. It's the most professional budget we have had, so thank you all. And they have been awarded for the 9th year in a row. The GFOA Distinguished Budget Award has really stringent requirements for that. And the finance team also, for the 18th consecutive year, has been awarded the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting. We have modified the budget process today to meet social distancing requirements and Governor Brown's executive order, gives state and local governments the authority and the flexibility regarding public comment, public notice, and transparency due to statewide COVID emergency. We've revised the Budget Committee procedures. You just adopted those. Department budgets, where normally we spend 2 days, departments present their budget to the Budget Committee. Several counties and cities have condensed that, and today we're just going to have the budget team present each department's budget, hoping we will end this meeting by 1 o'clock this afternoon. Our budget meets all public notice, public comment requirements. We've submitted all notification required. And the budget book includes all documentation, strategic goals and priorities, narratives, key indicators, and schedules by fund and by department. So in conclusion, COVID-19 pandemic has been the most challenging public health and economic crisis of our lifetime. Outstanding county leadership and employee dedication to serving the public has been evident every day. We have a strong financial foundation. We are dealing with our finances smartly in preparation for next year. We have the focus and attention. We'll continue on the crisis, and when the recovery process begins, we'll be watching that as well. Our workforce is stronger and able to adapt to the challenges now. It just threw the entire workforce into something new, and they have really succeeded. The work has been altered by innovation, and transformative effect on the delivery of services will take place in the future. And yet our core public service remains unchanged. Once again, I'd like to thank the Budget Committee, Patrick Vance, Chair, Commissioner Colin Willis, Vice Chair, Senator Denise Bowles, Commissioner Kevin Cameron, Dave Kinney, Commissioner Sam Brentano, and to all healthcare providers, first responders, frontline workers, and government personnel that have continued to work so others may stay safe. We owe you our sincerest gratitude and admiration. Thank you.
Amen.
Do we have questions?
All right. Just continuing on with the agenda. Chair Vance, Budget Committee members, my name is Debbie Gregg. I'm the Budget and Grants Manager. Sorry, forgot for momentarily there. It's been a long 6 months here. This is our Super Bowl here. We're glad we finally made it. I just briefly wanted to go over the budget structure and overview for the rest of the meeting today. And then we'll get into the department budgets, and Daniel Adato and I will present those on behalf of the departments. So the budget structure and overview, excuse me, was there a comment?
Well, Debbie
Yeah.
and Chair Vance, could it be possible for us to maybe just make a few comments about
Yes.
Jan's budget message before we jump into it and her
Absolutely.
leadership during this time?
Thank you, Mr. Willis. I was fighting here to unmute my microphone as we got
I did the
started.
same.
So I'm moving around trying to find the right button, but I agree. You want to say something initially?
Yeah, I would, and I apologize for interrupting you, Debbie. I know you guys are just working your brains out, but I just think Jan and Debbie and the whole team here just deserves. They've earned our respect and admiration, and I just think it's important for us to make a comment about that. You often take for granted all the little things that people do until there's a crisis, and then you kind of there the integrity, and the leadership, and the excellence of people, or not. You know, it sort of strips away all the fog, and you see, you know, what's real and what's not. And I think what we've seen is just an unbelievable competence among our administration here in Marion County. And every day I go home so grateful just for the integrity and I mean, I think of even the new HR department that Jan Fritz, before COVID-19 was coming about, she said, I think this is really important for the county that we have an HR department. She went, she did the work, and then, oh my gosh, did we need that? Because we had to change all these policies and procedures on the fly. We had to go to telecommuting. We had to implement, you know, new safety protocols for people, and it was seamless, you know, because she had the foresight to see this need, to hire well, to give that department the resources it needed to provide for us in a time of crisis. And I'm just incredibly grateful for that. I just would feel like I failed if I didn't speak up and say that here today, that we're just so blessed with the integrity and the competence of Jan Fritz and her whole team.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Richard. Other comments?
I'd like to, if I could, Chair Vance, and thank you, Colm, for busting in. I was making notes of things I wanted to say at some point later, apparently. And first of all, Jen, the budget message presentation, wonderful in itself. I've nagged on you so much to talk about reserves. I couldn't write them down, but I really think you've addressed it and trying to be flexible for the future. I didn't hear John Latimer's we're all right today, but next year will be a problem, but I know it's in there. But last, I wanted to say for you, Jan, you gave the commissioners an awful lot of credit for everything the good, that response and whatever that happened during this crisis, but you left out your guidance, and I certainly appreciate it. And I know we wouldn't be where we were without that. So thank you so much. And I'm done.
Thank you.
I want to add.
How do we get in the queue?
Denise? Yeah, Denise?
I echo what's already been said, and I think that the crisis that we're going through has shown cracks in our systems, in our in areas that we need to be better at. But I got to tell you, and you guys know, I'm on a whole truckload of phone calls with a whole lot of people across the state, and I am so proud of this county. I am just so proud of how you guys, and across the board, the departments are responsive, the leadership that's been provided, how you have fought for this community, and it has been actually one of the few bright spots that I've experienced. You know, and I'm on a lot of public health conversations with my role at Salem Health, and you know, it's hard. And people are doing good work. And the fact that you pulled all this budget together in the middle of all this is astonishing to me. I can't imagine the kind of hours everyone's been working. I mean, I can't because Commissioner Cameron complains about it a lot, but just teasing. Chuckle, come on, Kevin. You know, I just know everyone is, but Jan, this is spectacular, and the kind of steady leadership and foundation that is in this community has kept this from being far, far worse for the people here, and I just cannot thank you all enough.
Thanks, Denise. Other comments? Let me.
The reason I didn't respond to Denise's joke is because I still have tears in my eyes from Jan's closing statement. And I know everybody who's on this thing is working their tails off. And I know that everybody in the governor's administration is working their tails off. Everybody's doing the best. It's the first pandemic that any of us have ever faced. And it's so easy to second guess. It's so easy to criticize. And just got to turn all that stuff off and continue to look at the other human beings that we interact with, including those that are on this budget presentation today, and just really appreciate each individual life and what they're contributing to it. And Jan, your message at the end, I mean, you think about it, it has been, I'm trying to remember who said this. I think it was Senator Courtney on one of my phone calls with him. He said, well, this is like a war. And he's right. I mean, it's a different kind of battle that we're facing, but we're each soldiers in that army, and we're doing the best we can. And we haven't necessarily been trained to deal with what's facing us. However, we have been trained to work together. And I think that's what Senator Bowles is referring to, is that this is a great team and we work together. And I myself can admit to stress and blowing it a few times under that stress. But there's not anybody that I haven't come in contact with during this particular scenario that isn't giving their all and trying their best from where they're at. And I do appreciate that about our leadership, our department heads and our frontline employees. You go out and talk with them, and they are doing the best that they know how, and they're still focused on the customer or on the citizens that they're serving. So, Jan, great job. And just don't make me cry anymore at the end of your messages.
I did too.
At least I'm in my own home today and nobody's seeing it. But yeah, thank you very much. And I'm looking forward. I do have one question. I know, Sam, you said you had wrote down. I just had one. Yesterday we did our extension service budget, and we looked at revenues. We forecasted revenues, property tax revenues that impact the extension service budget, and we had a 0.8% increase. This budget has a 3.6% increase. So there's some differences in how we're approaching revenues, and that's maybe something we can talk about at some point in time. I still maybe think 3.6. Hope I'm wrong. I love the lower increase number, and I'm glad we lowered it from the 4 point whatever it was. 4 point whatever down to where we're at. So that was my only thought during the overall budget presentation. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Kevin. Any other comments? Yeah, Ms. Willis. Oh, okay. I want to just add sort of my thinking as Jan was explaining what was going on and the challenges. Senator Courtney's comment about this as a war is pretty prescient. And if you look at this as a war, then local government is the battleground. And we are blessed in Marion County with an agile workforce. These people can move and pivot on a dime to meet whatever the exigency of the time is, whether it's the road people or the sheriff's department or public health. We're blessed with that. We're also blessed with a strong public health department who was able to step in. I know Katrina Rothenberger and have worked and chatted with her over the years and so on, and all of the folks there, Ryan and that whole bunch. And I can picture them jumping in and just like, what do we have to do and who do we have to call? Where do we need to get our cues? How do we work all of this? And then having Jeff and the finance people working right alongside of them to manage all of the tracking and so on. This is very, very impressive response to a really unprecedented public government, local government challenge. And I think I can't even find the right words. I think, like with you, Commissioner Willis, there just aren't the right words to say how important, this is something some PhD dissertation in public health should be written about, the way Marion County worked at some point, because it was outstanding, especially as things were so unclear nationally and internationally about what we're doing and what we're going. There were a lot of people talking and throwing stones and throwing mud, but in the end, The people in Marion County got excellent service, timely, quick response in a very agile government, and the partnerships too with the local health people, Salem, Silverton Hospital, Sandy M, all working together, Valley, all working together. It was phenomenal. Looking at it from over the rim now, watching it unfold over the rim as a retired guy watching television, it was phenomenal. So Jan and her whole team, it just is remarkable. And so I remarked about it. But thank you. And again, it almost brings a tear to my eye, and I'm a pretty gruff old bird. Anyway, thank you. Any other comments about that? I think it was worth saying, and thank you. I juggled trying to find the button to unmute my microphone, and if we live this way for the rest of the fiscal year, I'll get better at it, I promise. Debbie, we interrupted you. Please go on, and thank you.
Chair Vance, Budget Committee members, that was well worth the interruption. So anytime you have items to say like that, just give us the cue. I echo your comments. It's a privilege to serve alongside Jan on the budget team. I've learned a lot from her, and it's just impressive, her leadership as we've gone through this uncharted territory. So just thank you to that also. All right, so we'll continue on with just a quick brief budget structure and overview. So the Budget Committee, as Jan mentioned, the meeting was properly noticed in the Statesman Journal and on the county website, according to our local budget law that we follow. The budget document has been available for review on the county website as well since May 22nd. There's been an opportunity for the public to provide comment on the proposed budget, and we have received no comments, and we have received no registrations for individuals to provide public comments. So there's that. The department budgets will be presented by the budget team, so myself and Daniel Adato. And we're just going to really provide a high-level overview of the department's 2021 budget, the significant changes to those budgets. And then we also reached out to departments to ask them to provide some key accomplishments that they have done this last year. So we'll get an opportunity to share some of those wonderful things that our departments do, and we get to brag on our departments just a little bit. There's time at the end of the department presentation for Budget Committee questions, so we'll open it up to you at that point. We'll do our best to answer your questions. There is also an opportunity at the break, so if we can't answer your questions, we have given departments the heads up to be on alert, so we may empower our phone a friend during the break and call and ask clarifying questions if you have any that the budget team cannot answer. And then finally, the budget this year, as you noticed in your budget book, as it is for every year, is presented by department by program. However, local budget law requires us to adopt the budget by fund. So in your budget book on page 43, there is a huge kind of pull-out document that displays the budget by department, by fund. So that's kind of a good crosswalk on, how we move from the program budget to the fund department budget. So with that, I think we'll just jump right into the department overview.
Debbie,
Yes.
can I ask you a question about
Absolutely.
that page 43?
Yeah.
I was looking at it yesterday, and one of the questions I had is, I know that we do dedicate about $4 million in general fund to Health and Human Services,
Correct.
but
Yes,
I
that's
didn't
correct.
see that in this page 43. What? Can you tell me that?
Yeah, that's in the general fund line item on the left, and it's the far right column on non-departmental operations. That's considered a transfer out, and so it's included in that kind of 25 million line item there. Oh, yep. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm sorry for another new guy question.
It's okay. Good question. It's a good question.
Okay, before,
Can't use that next year, Commissioner.
for the
We're going to
record, my
start
name
with the
is,
assessor's office.
yeah, and for the record, my name is Daniel Dotto. I'm budget analyst with the finance department. And just before we launch into our department budgets, I just want to say it's been an honor to work with the budget team through this crisis, and thank you.
Thank you for your work.
Starting off, Assessors Department. This is on 58 of your budget books, and if you want to follow along. The Assessor's Office has 4 programs. There is the Tax Collection Program, the Cartography Program, the Valuation Program, and the Administration Program. And this department is run by Assessor Tom Rolfing. And the total FTE is 52. And the total budget for fiscal year 2021 is $7,159,347. Next slide. Significant budget items. There is 2 decision packages. The first is annual maintenance added for the new assessment and taxation software system. The cost for that decision package is $96,300. The second decision package is for microfilming the tax roll, and that's for $4,600. There's been some additional materials and services costs added to this budget. That is for software added for $185,000 for the existing taxation legacy system. And finally, there were no FTE changes added this year. Department accomplishments, and we'll read these were the department accomplishments were selected by the department heads specifically, and they wanted to bring attention to these. Well, we just have time to go through one today, but you'll note in the department budgets and accomplishments if you want to read through all those. So I'll read the one that we have selected here. Partnering with Marion County IT, the Assessor's Office has contracted with Helion Software Incorporated and began converting to their ORCAT software, which is an Oregon property assessment and taxation system. The system conversion is on time and expects to take 18 months in total. July 1st, 2020, the tax office will go live with this software first, followed by the Assessor's Office.
All right, I'm going to take over the next budget. So this is the Board of Commissioners, and their 2021 proposed budget is almost $2.9 million with 15 FTE. The significant items for this budget for this year, actually the overall budget decreased by $90,000, and that really is primarily in the personal services due to retirements of personnel in longevity steps. We had a couple personnel retire. We probably could name them. So that's a decrease in that category. There are no changes in FTE, and I'm sure there's many accomplishments, the Board of Commissioners, but this is the one that was selected. So Marion County has been among the hardest hit counties by COVID-19. Hundreds of residents have contracted the disease, and thousands of people became unemployed under the Governor Brown's Stay Home, Save Lives executive order. The commissioners have worked tirelessly alongside the Health and Human Services Department and with countless stakeholders making critical decisions to protect the health and safety of our residents in order to begin the process of reopening the county. All right, Business Services is our next department. And for the 2021 proposed budget, as you can see, there's quite a decrease in this budget. The proposed budget is $5.9, almost $6 million with 49 FTE. There are 3 programs for 2021. And on the next slide, the main reason for the significant decreases is because of the newly formed Human Resources Department. So previously the Business Services budget contained the Human Resources Program, Benefits and Wellness Services, and those were all transferred to form the new department. So 18 FTE from Business Services went to the new department, and that is the major significant budget item for this year. Business Services Department accomplishment is, since 2011, facilities completed a full and thorough audit of county assets, including over 3,000 equipment assets and 4,500 itemized assets. This process enabled the department to update the facility's condition assessment with current ratings on all the county assets. And in addition to that, deferred maintenance for all asset repairs and replacements have been reduced from $11 million to $4 million due to a number of completed capital construction projects.
Next up is the clerk's office. The clerk's office is run by County Clerk Bill Burgess. And there are 4 programs in the clerk's office: licensing and recording, elections, Board of Property Tax Appeals, and administration. There are 14.7 FTE, and the total budget is about $3.3 million. Significant items. There was a budget increase of about $117,000, and the increase was primarily attributed to personnel costs and also materials and services. There were no FTE added in 2021. I did want to note a major cost driver for the clerk's office are elections. Marion County continues to see increases in voter registrations each year as the population increases, with about 5,000 to 6,000 voters added each year since 2016. These additional registered voters impacts costs like printing, postage, and other costs tied to elections. Another note I wanted to add to the clerk's office, and this is a note that comes from County Clerk Bill Burgess, or I should say Bill Burgess raised an issue with the budget, and the county clerk has communicated some concerns on personnel services and administrative costs being charged to the county clerk's records fund, which is one of the funds in the county clerk's department. The county has obtained 3 different legal opinions that concluded that those costs are allowed to be charged to the clerk record fund, and the county is in compliance with the requirements as outlined in ORS 205.32. So we just wanted to address that concern raised by the clerk and then offer the county legal opinion. And finally, I'll read the key accomplishment. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, marriage licenses were offered by mail and email to help protect applicants and staff during the emergency. Thanks. Okay, next up is community services, and the department head for community services is Tamara Getch. And there are 6 programs in this department. There's community services administration, community services grants, Marion County Reentry Initiative, dog services, county fair, and finally lottery and economic development. The total FTE is 21.9, and the total budget is about $5.8 million. Significant budget items. Community services budget decreased overall by about $2 million, and these decreases were primarily because of the pandemic, including, and Jan mentioned this in her budget message earlier, there was a reduction of $1.3 million in networking capital for the Lottery and Economic Development Fund, and this was because of the small business grants awarded in the current fiscal year 1920, and those grants were awarded to assist businesses that are being impacted by the pandemic. On top of the decrease in networking capital, there's also a projection of a decrease in lottery revenue for 2021. The current estimate that's in the budget is a reduction in $560,000, which is substantial. I should also note for the community services budget, the 2020 fair was canceled because of the pandemic. Although the decision to cancel was made after the budget was completed, so the budget still reflects 2020 fair revenues and expenses, so you'll see that there, but the fair wasn't canceled. Finally, there were no changes in FTE in 2021. The department accomplishment, the economic development program helped 47 rural farmers access high-speed broadband in the Wheatland, Bethany area. This work allows farmers to gain electronic access to information about agricultural trends and new technologies while expanding the county's capacity to partner with diverse stakeholders to complete innovative projects.
All right, District Attorney's Office. Their proposed 2021 budget is $14 million and with 93 FTE and some change. The significant budget items for this year were 2 approved decision packages. One was the annual software license for the e-prosecutor system of $168,421. That system enables employees to accurately track cases, calendar, and court appearances, coordinating statutorily required documents for victims of crimes. I know they've been working on that, getting that implemented for a while now, so I'm sure that's quite an accomplishment. The second decision package is in a lease rental increase for the medical examiner SUV of $4,092. The current medical examiner vehicle is on a county maintenance plan, is really at the end of its service life. This SUV vehicle will be reliable and accommodate all types of terrain and weather conditions and will enable the medical examiner to perform their work. The district attorney's accomplishment is the implementation of the new case management system, again, e-prosecutor, for adult prosecution, juvenile enforcement, victims assistance, and medical examiner. Once complete, those programs will largely be paperless, allowing prosecutors, advocates, medical legal death investigators to access case management information from anywhere, and also changing the discovery process to an online portal. And this will maximize the efficiency for the community and the customers. The Finance Department budget for 2021 proposed is approximately $3.1 million, and the FTE is 21.6. The significant budget items for finance this year is there was an increase in repairs and maintenance for contract management system annual software license that was originally in IT's budget last year that is shifting to finance. That was one of the changes this year overall in the 2021 budget. There were a lot of department-specific software, annual software licenses that were in IT's budget, and the decision was made it was more appropriately to be reflected in each of the department's budget. So there's a few of those you'll see spattered throughout the 2021 budget. There were no FTE increases for finance. And finance's department accomplishment is it began participating in a process improvement program called Lean, and I looked it up, and there is no definition for Lean. It's just Lean. That's the name of it. With department contract employees to look for efficiencies to the county solicitation and contracting process. So trying to find efficiencies and effectiveness in how we do our business. Health and Human Services budget. Now, this is one of the larger departments with 457 FTE. The proposed budget for 2021 is $74.7 million, and it has 15 programs in total. 6 of the largest programs are the Addiction Treatment Services, Adult Outpatient Mental Health Services, Acute Forensic Diversion Services, Intensive Services and Support, and then the Health Administrative Services Program. A couple significant budget items for this year were 2 approved decision packages. There were 2 FTE approved in the Developmental Disabilities Program, and this is to assist in the increased casework and caseload requirements within that program. Another FTE was approved in the Residential and Support Services for a Mental Health Associate 2 position to fill a new graveyard shift for that program. As Jan mentioned in her budget message, there was a change in the funding methodology for the Coordinated Care Organization. Previously, this was funded through intergovernmental local revenue from Mid-Valley Behavioral Care Network, BCN, otherwise known as BCN. And now the funding is received through Pacific Source Community Solutions in a Charges for Services revenue account. So you'll see that kind of reclassification of that revenue from one subcategory to another in their department-specific budget. I'm sure there are lots of Health and Human Services Department accomplishments, but this is the one that was selected. So in January, the Public Health Division completed a virtual site visit for voluntary national reaccreditation with the Public Health Accreditation Board. The preparation process to apply for reaccreditation took about 2 years and ensures the Public Health Division is as responsive as possible to community needs and fosters efficiency and effectiveness through continuous quality and performance improvement. Quite an accomplishment. All right. And now our new department, the Human Resources. As Jan mentioned, it's overseen by the Chief Human Resource Officer, Michelle Shelton. This has 4 programs. It was transferred again, 18 FTE were transferred from Business Services to this department. And one of the significant budget items, next slide. There it is, was a decision package approved for another FTE for the leave administrator. So that leave administrator is going to be responsible for Countywide Family and Medical Leave Act and Oregon Family Leave Act, otherwise known as FEMLA and OFLA, compliance. And I know that is a much needed countywide process, and the departments are cheering out there because this process was used to be in the departments, and now we're going to bring that to more of a centralized process. So that will be a great transition. And the Human Resources Department accomplishment is the volunteer services, oversees 149 board members and 1,557 unique program volunteers. In 2019, volunteers and interns contributed more than 95,000 hours of service, an estimated value of just over $3 million. Volunteers participate in activities such as fostering shelter dogs, serving on emergency preparedness and response teams, participating in search and rescue, delivering public and behavioral health services, guiding victims through the criminal justice system, and helping to maintain county parks.
Next up is the IT department. The IT department is run by Scott Emery. And there are 3 programs in the IT department. There's Administration, Operations, and Technology Solutions. The total FTE for 2021 is 63, and the budget request is $11,460,271. Significant items. There are 2 decision packages within this budget. The first is an IT software increases for $43,895. This is just for some basic cost increases for multiple software that are in that department. The second is for Oracle data cloning software, and that's for $21,120. I should note that many of IT's projects are in the capital improvement plan, and this budget only really captures the operating part of their budget. So they're still doing a lot of other projects that are just not being captured here. Finally, there are no changes in FTE. And the key department accomplishment is that they finished implementation of a replacement record management system for the district attorney's office. And that modernized businesses operations based on electronic documents now accessible remotely. Next up is Justice Court, which is a really small department. It only has 7 FTE, and the budget is $991,439, and the department head is Judge Zernoff. And in 2021, the overall budget decreased 2%. That's primarily because of a reduction in 1 FTE. It was an office specialist, and that reduction FTE ties to their department accomplishment, which was the number of staff has decreased by 1 FTE due to efficiencies from the paperless Oregon Records Management System, ORMS, and a lower caseload. Next up is the Juvenile Department. The department head is Troy Gregg. The total department budget is $16,826,333, and there's 108.34 FTE in 2021. The significant budget items, overall, the budget increased 3%, which was mainly due to personnel services. I asked Troy if there's anything else he wanted us to touch on for this year, and he said that juvenile is not adding FTE this year. However, the department is trying to increase the level of services that they provide and programming with the resources that are available. And they are in a new building, so that's good for them. The department accomplishments, the new juvenile services building was completed and staff officially moved in January 2020. You'll see that the picture of that building on the cover of our capital improvement plan, which is in the final tab of your budget binder. And the department has gone almost entirely paperless by moving all hard files to Laserfish. And this has helped to create efficiencies with access to documentation and created a greener environment.
All right. So legal counsel, Jean Vetto is our county counsel, and their 2021 proposed budget is $2.9 million with 11.8 FTE. And a couple significant items that happened in there for this budget is there was an approved decision package for a new legal case management system for $28,450. And this system will enable employees to access information electronically and centralize and organize case management and legal documents to provide more efficient service. Also included in the legal department is the law library, and that is currently undergoing relocation to the courthouse just right across the street from us. One of the department accomplishments for legal counsel, is represented. They have represented the county with successful outcomes in multiple forms in litigation matters, ranging from tort claims, land use, to complex tax appeals before the Marion County Circuit Court, the Oregon Tax Court, the Oregon Court of Appeals, the United States District Court for the District of Oregon, the United States Bankruptcy Court, and the State Land Use Board of Appeals.
Okay, next up is the Public Works Department. The department head is Brian Nicholas. The Public Works Department is the largest department in the county as far as the budget goes. In 2021, the budget is $132,531,135, and there are 225.3 FTE in this department. Significant budget changes. Overall, the budget decreased by $1 million. This is mainly due to a reduction in the net working capital estimated for the Public Works Fund. And this is because of the impacts of COVID-19 on gas tax revenue. As Jan mentioned earlier in her budget message, we are anticipating a reduction immediately from gas tax revenue, and this is going to impact the current fiscal year, so April through June 30th, and so that is driving the reduction in net working capital. In addition, the Public Works Department is estimating a reduction in gas tax revenue heading into this 2021 budget, and the reduction is anticipated to be about $1.2 million. Other items, and there's a lot, we could probably spend an hour or plus going over this budget, but we've done our best just to select a couple. The Environmental Services Program increased in capital outlay for the purchase of a new transfer station for waste and recycling, and that is budgeted at $2.6 million. There is a reduction in FTE of just 1.0, and that is the assistant building official position was eliminated. And there are 74 capital projects, which we will discuss on the next slide in more detail. So, like I said, there's 74 projects in the Public Works budget, but we've just decided to highlight the largest projects, and we drew a threshold of $1 million. So any project that is over that amount, we're going to talk about briefly here. So we've broken this out by carry forward. So these are projects that are already in development that are just carrying into 2021 budget, and then new projects. Carry forward, there's the 45th Avenue Northeast Urban Upgrade, and this is for about $3.2 million. Silverton Road Bridge Replacement, $1.4 million. Lancaster Drive Reconstruction and ADA improvements, $1.3 million. And the Traffic Signal Interconnect and Fiber for $1.9 million. New projects, there's the Pavement Preservation Program for $4 million. And that's going to resurface 20 to 25 miles of county roads, and it's an ongoing program. There's the purchase, like I said in the previous slide, of $2.6 million for the transfer station. And finally, for $1.4 million, there's going to be a replacement of 40 light-duty vehicles for the county fleet. Like I said earlier, there's going to be impacts anticipated because of the reduction in gas tax. And due to the uncertainties of the impacts of COVID-19 on the gas tax revenues, Public Works plans to potentially delay projects if funding comes in less than anticipated. So just keep that in mind as you're looking at this budget, that if the gas tax doesn't come in as projected, then projects that are in the budget will potentially be delayed to future years.
All right, Sheriff's Office. This is overseen by the Sheriff, elected Sheriff Joe Cast. The 2021 proposed budget is $74.5 million with 356.5 FTE. It has 13 programs in total. The largest programs are patrol and jail operations. Significant budget items is the overall budget increase by $1.3 million, primarily in personnel services, and again, that's attributed to some recently negotiated COLAs in various union and bargaining units. There was one decision package approved for radio maintenance of $85,000, and that radio maintenance is necessary to support the operating costs and upkeep of radio tower sites and infrastructure, as this is the primary communication network for personnel within the Sheriff's Office. Again, there was no change in FTE, and the department accomplishment is the Sheriff's Office was awarded 2 Bureau of Justice Assistance grants to expand the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion, or LEAD, program in order to help divert clients from jail to recovery services. The grants are administered in partnership with Marion County Health and Human Services, and this grant added 2 peer navigators and a program coordinator in the current year to help provide additional resources to a population that is interacting on a repeated basis with the criminal justice system.
Lastly is the Treasurer's Office. The Treasurer's Office is run by Lori Steele, who is the County Treasurer. And in 2021, the budget being requested is $492,944, and there's 2.31 FTE. Significant budget items, there was an overall decrease of 1%. That's largely attributed to a slight reduction in FTE of 1.9 for the Treasury Specialist. And the department accomplishments, the Treasurer worked with the Tax Department to implement the county's new lockbox vendor for processing of more than 60,000 tax payments. And we're into questions.
So Chair Vance, I don't know if there's any budget committee questions. We could open it up, or if you give us direction, we can just, it looks like we're 40 minutes before our break time. If there's no questions, we can continue right on in. So I'll take your lead.
Let's check here with anybody. Mr. Brentano.
Oh, I don't know if they're great questions, just things I noted going through, and obviously a pretty quick look. And I don't know if maybe somebody could just respond if it seems appropriate, or if I just want to make note of something that I did notice. And the first one isn't terribly important. I didn't hear risk management noticed under business services. And I think they're important, and I was expecting a little. But most of the rest I have kind of my vision of what workload and employee numbers are, and I'll just go through them. The first was we had a meeting yesterday, day before, with district attorney, talking about a backlog of cases. Basically, things aren't in operation like normally, so they anticipate a workload increase in the future as things come back to normal. But basically, I think she just said things are not being done they were. So how would you deal with that? Maybe Jan, somebody, or just maybe again, just make note of it. Any comments from anybody?
I think we'd have to get more specifics from the district attorney page, so.
All right,
Happy
so
to
then just
talk with
know
her.
that I think there's going to be a problem there in the future. Then a couple on FTEs, and the first is under Health and Human Services. So I thought I'd see more people there, tracers, trackers, whatever, a lot of new emphasis, yet that number doesn't change. So does that give a true picture of expense and revenue in that department?
Sure. This is Debbie. The budget, the health budget was done before any of the contact tracers and that was implemented. So we have a third supplemental budget for the current year, which will probably reflect that, getting those personnel into the budget. And then we'll have an opportunity in the first supplemental to adjust the budget at that. So this budget was done before that, before those individuals came on.
All right, so you have a plan for dealing with it. That's all I want to hear.
Sam, this is Kevin. I think some of our people have been moved, like the restaurant inspectors actually were qualified and they moved some of them over when they talk about those 22 individuals or 28, whatever it is. So it'll be interesting to see what that looks like, how many actual FTEs. But we know we're hiring more, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then I'll move on. IT, just simple. We approved recently additional resources, manpower, but by contracting. And how does that work into FTE and anything to note there? Is it a true picture of how many people are working in a department?
Go ahead, IT. Is that yours? Yeah.
So, with the IT budget, I'm sorry, it was IT department, right? Sorry.
Right.
Correct.
In this one, just the note that they're contracting out for additional help, so that FTE isn't a true picture is what my thought was.
Correct. The FTE includes filled and vacant positions. I know they're hopeful to hire those vacant positions, but in the meantime, in the interim, they have been contracting out and using some of those, we call them vacancy savings, basically, to move some of that budget appropriation to contracted services where they can hire those temporary folks and complete some of their work. But I know their intention is to hire and fill those vacant positions so they can have a complete workforce.
And the last I have is just the sheriff. I thought maybe fines and enforcement would be lower, i.e. looking at the justice courts and their lack of, when they say volume, I guess. And I thought that'd be a little bit lower. So none of these, for as fast as you went over and as big a operation as the entire county, those are just the quick little things that either surprised me or I thought didn't reflect what I feel is going on, but they're all pretty minor, and I congratulate you all on the presentation, and that's all.
Chair Vance?
Thank you.
Thanks, Sam.
Chair Vance?
David, is that you?
No, it's Jeff.
Oh, okay, Jeff, you're not on my screen here. Yes, sir, please.
Yeah, they don't show my face. Just one additional response maybe to Commissioner Brentano's questions, particularly about the contact tracers. There is quite a bit of reimbursement money that is coming available to the county, and particularly drawn out in the several bullet points of what is available to seek reimbursement from the CARES federal dollars through the state is contact tracers. So at least in this first round of reimbursement from March 1 through May 15th, those are eligible to be reimbursed fully for those expenditures. There will be another round of CARES funding, depending on what's available, going May 15th through June, probably through June 30. I think the round of funding is coming in July. So we're very hopeful that a number of those expenses that we have incurred and will yet incur will receive reimbursement for. And that CARES funding is available for expenditures through December 31st, depending on how much of it gets spent. So that'll help offset those costs. And actually, the health department has, I think, 4 or 5 other lines of funding coming to them from the state and other sources too.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
I'd like to address a question that was raised by Denise. Senator Bowles. Senator Bowles asked, "Did the prepaid postage have an impact on the county budget?" And I assume that's for the clerk selections. Is that right? Yes. So I don't have the answer to that question, but we will follow up with County Clerk Bill Burgess, and we'll get back to you today if that is impacting some of the postage costs that we're getting.
I'm just kind of curious about how that passed through and where that bucket of money is coming from.
Right.
So.
We'll make sure we follow up about that.
Thanks.
Thanks for raising that question, Denise, and Dan, thank you too. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question for Jeff.
Ms. Blow.
How's the lien process going in the finance department?
I wish I could say it was all done and everything was improved. Camber Schlag, who is our contracts and procurement manager, was working with Ryan Matthews, had offered up an employee they have who is lien certified to help us improve the contracting process. We'd had some challenges from their perspective, and we can see it in the process of going through the solicitation process for their new software they're trying to implement. It was kind of bumpy. We had some failures along the way, and so we took advantage of that. Camber met with that employee, and they started meeting with a representative of all departments who have contract specialists. They were just getting that off the ground when the whole world went upside down. So they're trying to get that restarted, whether it's through technology or as the county opens to get those meetings going. There was some assessment done. There was a number of areas identified as problem areas and a couple of solutions, and that's about as far as they got. They need to finish the solution process and policy process on that and implementing it.
Well, I just think it's wonderful that you're doing that, and hopefully from this process, you might learn something that we can roll out to other departments as well.
Yeah, it will be countywide. There are representatives of all the departments on that group with that health department lien certified employee kind of leading the charge.
Good, but it's not just contracting that potentially we could improve. I mean, I imagine a lot of our processes could be improved.
Sure, absolutely. Agreed.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Other questions, comments? I have just 2 real quick ones, and I don't know if they go to you, Debbie, or to Jan. With the shift to the new Human Resources Department, the old budget was about $2 million, and the new budget is higher than that by, I'm kind of doing the math in my head, 700,000 or something in the creation of that department. So it wasn't just a lateral move of some people in some facilities, but there was an addition of, it looks like 1 FTE at $95,000 or something. Was there other stuff that went on? Was there need for space or need for software and computers and stuff?
Yeah, thank you, Chair Vance. I can address that, and then Jan, if you have anything to follow up on. That department, okay, in order to really get up and run as a single department, the moving of the program services, they need administrative assistance. So that person was going to stay with business services, so they needed to get that into their own department. There were some other things that we kind of had to break off and to make them a whole department. So a little bit of infrastructure, a little bit of like cubicle rearranging and how to really kind of isolate them as a
Sure.
Tenant improvements.
tenant improvements, thank you. And various things like that, yeah, so that they could run under an umbrella of its own department and function as that way, so,
Freestanding.
yeah.
Sure. It's what
Can-
they
can
call
I
in the
add on that,
restaurant
Chair?
business startup costs.
Chair Vance,
Yes.
just a couple of things that
Oh, yeah.
yeah, sorry, this is Jeff, the guy off camera. Those 18, as Debbie was explaining, those 18 moves, FTE weren't exactly equal. Adding a new department head is a significant cost. In business services, you had one, now we have two, one for each one. And remember, there's all the normal merit, COLA increases, so it wouldn't be a straight dollar for dollar move. They would grow also.
Sure. Okay, no, I'm good. I have one other real small one, and that concerns the county fair. If the county fair isn't going to be held, that $570,000 that was allocated to run the fair isn't going to be spent, but there will be some sunk costs. So it's not going to all, that $500,000 isn't going to transfer back to general fund. There's going to be some costs, space costs and organizational costs and stuff for the fair, even though the fair isn't going to be run. Is there any thought about that, or is it just too soon to even kind of project any of that?
For the animals?
That's a great question. Because it's
And I
unprecedented.
don't need the definitive answer. I'm just wondering, there's going to
Yeah.
be some cost.
so-
It isn't, you don't have a fair, so you put all that money back in the general
Yeah.
fund or something. By the same token, some of it will, and I don't need to know a number.
Yeah. And
it's just a thought.
I'd like to add a caveat, which is that the county fair fund actually has two fairs budgeted in it. It would be the 2020 and part of the 2021. So the 2020 fair is being canceled, but we still are planning to have the 2021. So the fund captures both of those fairs. As far as the 2020 budget revenues, it's so early, I don't have a definitive answer in all of the sunk costs. That's something we could certainly follow up with you about. The decision to cancel was within the last few weeks, so.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
no, that's good.
Yeah.
That's more answer than I needed even. Thank you
Okay.
very much. Other questions for the budget officer or the budget team? Hearing none, where's my agenda here? Lost, I can't find my agenda. So we are at about our 11 o'clock time. Jan, what's your pleasure? Do you want to take a break early and reconvene, or members, budget committee members?
It's up to all of you.
You're,
I'm not going.
Perhaps
say it's
we
up
could
to
take
you.
about 15 minutes. That'd be good. I'd just soon plow ahead and keep at it otherwise.
sure. Yeah.
I would agree.
Everybody agree? Jan?
Yes, 15 minutes would be great.
Oh, I thought.
Okay.
Or did
So
he
we
say?
will,
Oh, I saw Kevin.
He's gone.
He's
Hey,
already
come
leaving.
back. Sam,
I'm
did
here.
you
What do you
want a
want?
break or not? Sam?
Well, I've been getting up and pouring myself coffee during this, listening to it with my earpiece in. So
Oh,
pretty high tech.
Why don't we just try to come back at 1:45?
Yeah, that sounds fine to me.
That's a deal.
So-
We'll do,
recess?
so do we stay connected though?
Yes.
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 stay online, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I better. I might never get back.
All right.
Don't want to
All
risk
right.
it.
We'll see you in
Okay,
10
so
minutes.
All right.
All right,
we will
10
take
minutes.
a break. We'll recess for about 10 minutes, come back here at about 11:15. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
Good.
Hearing no
Sounds good.
negatives, we'll be in recess. Thank you.
We're good to go. Okay. Chair Vance, I did get a moment to talk to our clerk, Mr. Burgess, to get an answer to your question, and I was surprised that cost for that postage on the envelopes is actually being handled by the state of Oregon.
Jeff, your mic is muted.
And it's Denise who had the question.
It's not on mute, it's on.
That's off.
Am I muted on? Okay, I have the word I should be good now.
Still shows it muted.
Wait a minute. What does that say? Look at your thing. Is it green?
We have a technical challenge here for a moment.
Well, I don't know if they've got me on the live feed or not, but we obviously are back from our break, and so we'll reconvene the meeting. Wait until, there we go. I think your mic's up now, Sam, or Jeff.
Okay, you can hear me now?
Uh-huh, and we're back
right.
online.
Perfect. Senator Bowles, your question about the postage. In talking to the clerk, Mr. Burgess, there apparently is no cost being charged to the county for that postage on the envelopes. It's pre-printed. There was an agreement made between the Postal Service and the State of Oregon Elections Division that the cost of postage would be billed directly to the state. We're just not involved in that at all. We don't receive a cost or reimbursement. So that's actually, according to Mr. Burgess, unprecedented. It's actually a mandate that was funded. He did want to express there was about $2,700 of lost envelopes that can no longer be used. So there was a tiny cost, I guess, in the changeover to those envelopes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So let me see. Now, Debbie, I think you're up next. Is she there?
I am here, yes, Chair Vance.
I think you're up next with non-departmental and other funds.
Yes. Chair Vance, Budget Committee members, Debbie Gregg, Budget and Grants Manager. I will present for you the non-departmental and other funds section of the budget. The non-departmental operations are programs and activities that are not part of any one department's specific budget, yet encompass various activities for the entire county. This section is made up of 12 programs and 10 different funds. Some of the more significant budget items within this section is our debt service, and that increased $675,000, mainly due to PERS. Our debt service structure in that has increasing annual payments, and part of that also is an increase in our ending fund balance. And I just want it noted, this is not necessarily a significant budget change for 2021, but it feels like it's within visible distance. So the courthouse square debt is actually going to be paid off in a couple years. As of June 2023, those annual payments are about $1.5 million a year. And so I just thought it would be noted and significant that in a couple years you'll be seeing that pay off in a budget. So the Mcbee Program is the Marion County Business Enterprise Enhancement Program, and its purpose is to re-engineer and integrate business processes county-wide. That program budget increased $216,000 this year in materials and services, and that's mainly for our Oracle 12.2 upgrade. Oracle is our accounting system, we call it FIMS, and the purpose of the increase is, yes, to upgrade that piece of it and also to cover any report conversions that we'll have to do to get the system up and working. A big part of the non-departmental is our actual general fund, and this is where we receive the revenues and we have M&S expenses. The general fund decreased overall by $1.9 million from the prior year. Again, as stated in the budget officer's message, current property tax revenue is estimated at a 3.6 increase. That is a lower percentage than in previous years. And the transfers out has actually decreased $3.2 million. We have no planned transfers, general fund transfers planned for capital or facility renovation this year. We're planning to fund all of those approved projects with carryover funds or reserves in those funds, and so that is something different from the previous fiscal years, where we had quite a few transfers out to fund some major capital projects. So that's significant this year. Materials and services decreased 1.1 million, and we're just doing fewer contracted services and fewer audits. We're trying to build in some additional contingency, and as you can see, a reserve for future expenditure is a new account this year, just for the unknown times and any unanticipated expenses to that. I did want to mention too, in the materials and services, this is where we pay for the water master and the county trapper. So I just wanted to make sure that those expenses and those services are included in this year's budget as well. Continuing on, also in the non-departmental is the county schools fund. This has decreased $1 million, and this is just due to the state revenue reduced projections. All of those funds that we receive in the county schools are special payments and distributed to counties, to school districts. So it's really just a kind of a pass-through fund. Non-departmental grants increased $60,000 this year, and that's really to the court care program. That's a daycare service that's provided for families attending court proceedings. The general fund is supporting that program with a $10,000 transfer to that program. Other programs in the non-departmental section that didn't have a very significant budget change is the criminal justice assessment, the tax title land sales, the veteran services program, rainy day reserve, and self-insurance program. I did want to mention too that with the veteran services program, general fund supports that program with the $50,000 transfer to the support, in addition to support that program and those services provided there too. So just wanted to mention that. And then finally, typically in normal budget committee meetings, we have the comp board come and present their recommendation, compensation board. I'll be trying to do them justice on their behalf. So the comp board is responsible for the annual review of elected officials and their compensation. For fiscal year 2021, the recommendations were as follows. So the recommendation was that no elected official receive an increase to their base salary, and this is in part due to two different variables. There was an extensive review performed in the prior year to bring the salaries in line with our comparable counties, and then also just due to the uncertainties of the economic impact due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The comp board did recommend that the elected officials receive a 2% COLA, cost of living adjustment, and that'll be effective July 1st. There was one exception. I believe the budget officer also mentioned this. The sheriff recommendation is the 1.19 COLA, and that's just in line with the guidelines that elected officials' base pay does not exceed the 5% of the mean. And then, the 2% COLA is just really in line with the collective bargaining contracts that have already been negotiated. All right, I'll turn it over to Daniel for capital.
Okay, I'll be rounding out our budget with the capital improvement section. So before I launch into the capital budget, I'd like to just give a brief overview of how the capital budget process works at Marion County. So capital expenditures, or capital outlay as the budget category is referred to, are typically purchases of $5,000 or greater and have a useful life of more than 1 year. Because capital outlay are large, one-time items, there can be wide budget swings from year to year, as you will note from past spending. Capital consists of major constructions, land, downloadable software, hardware, equipment, and remodeling and renovations to county assets. Marion County has a separate budget process for approving capital expenditures. If you refer to the capital needs summary in the tab of your budget binder, you'll see the 5-year capital needs summary document. Within the summary, the first section, which starts on page 1 of the summary, is for projects that are being proposed by the budget officer in fiscal year 2021. The second section, which starts on page 7 of the capital needs summary, is for projects that have not been approved and are provided as informational planning purposes only. Those projects are for years 2 through 5 of the summary, or in this case, years 21-22 through 24-25. The 5-year capital needs summary is organized by the 4 different CIP categories that Marion County uses to plan for capital expenditures. They are facilities, which are for buildings and constructions and renovation. Number 2 is information technology, which is computer hardware and software. 3 is our catch-all, what we refer to as other/miscellaneous, and those are for projects that don't belong in any other category, and they are typically one-time equipment purchases. And lastly is public works, which are all the projects included in the public works capital outlay budget. So the 5-year capital improvement needs summary found in the back of the binder crosswalks to the capital improvement budget, which begins on page 535 of the budget document. In the capital budget, the capital projects are organized by 5 programs presented on this slide that you see on the screen right now. And they are buildings and building improvements, equipment, IT equipment replacement, juvenile campus construction project, and the capital building and reserves program. Please note that these 5 programs exclude any projects that are in the Public Works Department. As I just mentioned, Public Works capital outlay are budgeted in the Public Works Department. So anything Public Works related is not in the capital department. So the next 3 slides, I will present the capital projects by the order they are presented in the 5-year capital needs summary, which are facilities, IT, and other/miscellaneous. And the total budget for the capital department this year is $18,424,095. So facility projects. The total facility budget for 2021 is $4,528,628, and that number that I just read is not the total. That is the continued projects. The total budget for facilities is $4,987,753. The continued projects are projects that have been that are in continuation, that are happening right now. The primary projects that I want to call your attention to, I'm not going to read them all, are the jail and detention lock replacement for $2.8 million. And this project replaces locks and control system at the jail for improved security. And the contract and design is currently being finalized, and the project was partially delayed because of the pandemic and the travel and restrictions that were put in place. The other projects that are carrying forward that I wanted to point out are the jail parking lot replacement for $618,000 and the jail boiler replacement project for $580,000. Those projects are multi-year, and they are carrying forward. The new project that I wanted to bring your attention to here was the courthouse marble refurbishment. That's for $275,748, and that is to make the courthouse across the street look nice and pretty. Next slide. Next up is the IT projects. The total continued projects is $5,116,029. There's 9 carry forward projects. I'll bring your attention to a couple of them. There's some large software specific projects that are for county departments, specific county departments, and they are the health records system, and that's for $1.3 million. That's a multi-year project and is currently ongoing. Same for the jail management system. That's for $512,000. That's a multi-year project for the jail. And finally, there's the ongoing project for $296,000 for the assessment and taxation software. That is a multi-year project that is ongoing. There's a new security project, which is, there's a carry forward security project for courthouse security camera matrix, and that's for $200,000. And in addition to the projects I just mentioned, there are several ongoing network level projects that enhance the infrastructure, IT infrastructure of the county. There are 7 new IT projects for a total of $886,796. New projects are several Oracle-related upgrades, and there's also an IT pictometry flight for the assessor's office, and the cost of that is $250,800. There is also just some smaller projects. There's the clerk is getting a large format scanner for $71,000. Juvenile security camera for $56,000. Online training module for HR, that's $20,000, and there's $6,000 for legal case management software. Next is our miscellaneous projects. These are all fairly small, as you'll see. The total budget is $111,674. There's no carry forward. These are all new projects. There's a jail key storage, $36,750. That increases safety of the key system at the jail. Jail washer and dryer, these are pretty standard, part of just the life cycle process of the washer and dryer of the jail that get replaced pretty frequently. Same for the kitchen oven at the jail for $14,700. Juvenile washer and dryer also, they're getting a new washer and dryer at the detention center. That's $16,000. That's just part of the basic end of life cycle replacement. And finally, the canine patrol dogs for the sheriff's office. That's for $16,767. Finally, we do include Public Works in our presentation here. These aren't in the capital department, but we like to reference them here just because they're all the county's capital outlay. And I've discussed these previously in the Public Works Department. But the total Public Works capital outlay budget is $24,260,640, and you'll see that broken out by fund in this slide. The total county capital outlay is $35,294,229. And it was pointed out to me when I was reading the the Public Works budget earlier, I failed to mention their key accomplishment, so I'd like to mention that here. And the Public Works completed a 103-mile pavement preservation program in 2019, resurfacing approximately 9% of the county's paved roads. The work consisted of 37.8 miles of asphalt concrete overlays, 9.4 miles of slurry seal, and 65 miles of chip seal resurfacing.
All right, this is Debbie again. We have a slide to just kind of summarize. That ends our basic budget presentation. I just wanted to end cap it with a quick summary of what you heard, and then I can hand it over to the Budget Committee for deliberations and approvals. So just to start off, this process started in January with departments submitting, the central service budgets and getting those administrative charges calculated. Daniel and I started maybe in November with some training and the budget parameters and, getting the system ready. But so it's been a long process, and we're happy to be here, and this is kind of the pinnacle of our budget work here. So, you've listened to over 100 programs in the presentation. There's over 16 departments that covers 35 funds. The budget officer proposed budget is $466,010,709 for 2021. That is an overall decrease of $9.2 million from the prior year. The total FTE is 1,517, and a few have 0.73, I believe. The general fund budget for this year is $107,849,047. It should be noted that 77% of that general fund budget does go to public safety. So that's the sheriff's office, the DAs, district attorneys, the juvenile department, and the justice court. So a lot of our main, our goal area is to support public safety with the general fund, and we do that by allocating about 77% of our resources to that goal. There were 11 approved decision packages this year by the budget officer and 4 FTE. All county employees will receive a COLA for 2021, and the Board of Commissioners are scheduled to adopt this budget on Friday, June 10th. Or sorry, Friday, Wednesday, June 10th, but adopt it by fund. Also, I just wanted to kind of note, it takes a lot to get this budget document together. The budget team could not do it without the magnificent help of these individuals within the various departments. I'm sure this list is not all inclusive of those that have helped us, but I just wanted to give a special thanks and a shout out to these folks. They are hardworking, they are accountable, they are, their integrity is fantastic. We give a phone call and they're on it and making changes for us right away. So I just want to share my personal appreciation with these individuals, and I just feel privileged that we get to work with such a great group. I'm sure Daniel can probably echo that as well. So
Definitely.
So that ends our 2021 proposed budget presentation.
Budget Committee members, do you have any further questions for Debbie, Daniel? Or Jan?
Yes, I do.
Okay, David?
Just a couple of quick questions. One, Jan and Debbie and everyone else and Jeff, thank you for adding the additional 2.1 million for reserve for future expenditures. I think that was a very prudent addition to the budget document. I did have a question looking at the capital facilities budget. The county has done a significant number of major building improvements over the past 8 to 9 years. And I didn't see that there's any major building plans in the 5-year capital budget. Are there any facilities that the budget committee or the Board of Commissioners have been talking about that will need either replacement or significant upgrades in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, Dave, I think of what we have talked about, obviously, is our jail. It's probably more of an operational budget to be able to do that. But as you could see in this budget, continuing to improve the infrastructure within the jail, there's a potential we may, out into the future, I don't know if it's in 5 years or not, need to be able to expand that. We're trying not to, but at least operate it. That's the big one that I think we all think about. The age of the jail, and I know since I've been here, a lot of those projects got put on hold because of the courthouse issue with the fire and then the courthouse square issue. But since then, we've been able to recover and get these projects that we need to get done. With the juvenile building being open this year, I think that was our final one. So I don't know if Sam, you or Commissioner or Jan, you have some comments on that. We've talked about the jail a lot.
So Chair Vance, if I could, the jail is, I'm sorry, might go ahead here?
Yeah.
All right. The jail's a big one, capacity and different issues. We're trying to deal with it. We're getting all sorts of new pictures of how it might work in different scenarios right now. The one that you might not have caught, David, but with my background, I'm always interested, was and I forget the number, $2.5 million for purchase of land for transfer station.
I did note that.
We've had real backup problems, especially Gaffin Road. And so obviously with a growing population, in spite of recycling efforts, or maybe because of the inability to move recycling products, I don't know, but we need to have more capacity. So that's one that'll be addressed. So that's just the purchase of land. I don't know, top of my head, it might take another can't even do it. Who knows how it's designed, but it could be $8-10 million to a first-rate transfer station. So that'll be in our future and probably needed today, much less in the next few years. That's all.
Thanks, Sam.
That's a good point, Sam. I forgot about that one.
No, I live not far from there, and the numbers of days where there have been backup lines, at first I thought it was just because so many people were home doing yard cleaning and so on, but I can see it really is a problem. That's a long line getting in and a long line getting out, and so anyway. Other questions or comments?
Yeah, I did have one more question, and it's a broader budget question for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And Jan or Jeff, you might want to address it. I didn't know what the county's PERS rate changes were going to be during the next 3 to 5 years, and how that was going to affect the operation, the personnel costs in all the various funds. So
In the next 3 to 5 years.
Should we throw that one at Jeff?
Yeah, we do have our
Sure.
weekly forecast for it, but we don't know the rate beyond it.
Yeah, this is Debbie. So personnel, is something that's always on our mind, and we try to forecast it and fine tune it. A couple variables, the PERS rate is always a question until we get that rate, and it usually increases. That's always something that we try to plan for the best of our ability, but it's always unknown until we actually get our rate for the 2-year biennium. So that's always been an increasing impact. Health insurance, dental insurance is constantly increasing, and so in our forecast we have tried to build in kind of those increases and what kind of impact that would be on the general fund and maybe the countywide budget. So we're doing our best to kind of project out how far and sustainable, these increased personnel costs are, and do our best to, adjust the budget or make changes and be flexible where we can without impacting, employee count or FTE or that type of thing. I don't know if anybody wants to tack on to that.
This is Jeff again. Sorry. This is Jeff. I think I can add maybe a little bit more. So the increases only happen once per biennium. Mm-hmm. So we know that number for the next biennium. It'll stay the same. Certainly PERS is projected, as you are all aware, consistent increases every biennium for a while. We did do something strategically with the budget a couple of years ago to increase our charges to departments for PERS debt service to build up some reserve in the PERS debt service fund to help offset that. So that will help some. It's allowed us to have this fairly stable budget for next year at least. It'll always be an annual kind of look at and see what happens next.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair?
None.
Jan?
No, I do.
Okay, Denise, yes, please.
Sorry, thanks. I just took me a second to unmute. I'm always curious about the electronic health records and where that project, we started that last year. And what's the status? What vendor did the county end up using? And is that live? Is this ongoing? Or I don't know. I just kind of want to check in on that particular capital outlay.
You know?
I don't.
I thought we were in sorry, this is Jan. I thought we were in the process of contracting. We had a couple of data analysts at the health department, and then COVID happened, and I do not believe we've made any progress since. I do have a couple answers from other questions, Mr. Chair, if you're willing to. I know I have Sam, one for Kevin.
You have questions, did you say, or you have a comment?
I have answers.
Oh, good. Please do. Yeah.
So one on Sam's question about contact tracers. So the interim Health and Human Services Director, Ryan Matthews, sent me a text, and they're all temp, so they're not counted as FTE, and those that aren't temp are by contract, so once again, they are not counted as FTE, and that's why you didn't see them in the budget. If they do add more staff, they will go ahead and increase that during a supplemental budget next year. What else? Oh, the capital projects, Dave, for your question. A couple things that have come up. Sam, I know, has been very interested in the juvenile demolition of the old juvenile detention building. The sheriff's office evidence building has problems with the floor out there. That's probably looking at that for a replacement in the next couple of years. And public works buildings, I think have outgrown them. Some are seismic, need to retrofit for seismic reasons. So those were the 3 capital projects I'm aware of.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Jan?
Not for me. I can find out, Denise, the answer to the question on the EHR if you're.
I sent Camber a text.
Okay, good. Jeff said he sent Camber a text, so hopefully we have an answer to your question.
Yeah, we at least got through a solicitation and a vendor committee to review and score, and I think we're just down to trying to get a contract signed. I think that the last I knew, and I don't think it's been signed.
Okay,
And
thanks,
I
Jeff.
can't remember the name of it either.
No.
Anything else? Any comments? Oh, I had one more question. I know, Debbie, you addressed this earlier, but opportunity for public comment, that was noticed properly. I saw a copy of the notice here. There were several avenues that the public could use to contact staff or the committee. Have you had anything in the last couple of minutes that we don't know about?
Not that I'm aware of.
Still no
no
okay,
comment,
that's fine.
right.
Just wanted it for the record.
Thank you.
Now we have a couple action items here, unless there's some more discussion about any of the budget. The first action item is a motion to approve the Marion County Compensation Board recommendation. And before I solicit that motion, what we didn't mention, or what didn't get mentioned, and I think should be, is that the Compensation Board is another Marion County volunteer board working with staff. These are economists and human resources people that meet together during the year to compare some comparable counties and what the elected officials there are doing and so on. So you talk about the comps, it's some selected statistically valid things, and it's a bunch of work. They don't just flip a coin. It's a bunch of work of volunteers working with staff. So I want to thank them. Normally they come in to the committee and we see at least a representative in person, but please do convey the committee's thanks for the work that they do. So with that said, unless there's any more comment, we'll entertain a motion to approve the Compensation Board recommendation.
Denise, do you want to make it or do you want me to make it? I'll be happy to. I'd move that the Budget Committee approve the Marion County Compensation Board's recommendations for the increase in salaries for the elected officials for fiscal year 2020-2021.
Is there a second? Hearing none, the chair will second that motion. Any discussion? Further, all those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you very much. The next motion is the tax rate. David, you want to do that one too?
Sure.
Okay.
I'd move that the Budget Committee approve an ad valorem property tax rate for Marion County of $3.252 per $1 million of assessed valuation for fiscal year 2021, or yeah, fiscal year 2021.
Per $1,000.
Per $1,000.
Yeah, okay. So right. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second. Cameron?
Thanks, Sam. Although, any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you. And then finally, a motion to approve the fiscal year 2021 budget as presented and discussed.
Okay, just to verify, there were no changes to the dollar amounts? Is that correct?
That is
That
correct.
is correct.
Okay. With that, I would move.
Wait.
Kevin, Mr.
Did
Cameron.
we get the mosquito,
I was gonna bring it up, Kevin.
It's
I
always
think I
there.
heard it.
Good point.
You had the vector, you had the trapper.
That's
I
right.
heard the trapper, I didn't hear the mosquito control. I don't want to leave without it and leave you guys
It is in
completely
public
unprotected.
health budget, absolutely.
Thank you. All right.
all right, I didn't want Commissioner to be upset if it wasn't in there, so, okay, I'm good, sorry.
Thank you, sir, for your attention to detail.
I thought we were going to get through 1 year without Sam asking that question.
Well, I had to ask you.
His last
It's the only thing
year.
I've accomplished.
We've moved on past the trapper, so, okay. So back to your motion, David.
Yeah, I would move that the Budget Committee approve the fiscal year 2021 budget in the amount of $466,010,709 by fund as presented by the budget officer, and forward the approved budget to the Marion County Board of Commissioners for final adoption.
Been moved. Is there a second? Mr. Willis, thank you, sir. Any further discussion?
If
Yeah.
I could, Chair Vance, and
Sure.
I don't know if it's appropriate here or not, but before we vote, I've been here a little while, and Jan, perhaps correct me, but in my memory, the budget took 5 or 6 days of 5 or 6 hours a day. Went through it very thoroughly, but as I've watched and gone through, maybe the item by item isn't there, but I have great confidence because I know the work that went into preparing it to present for us today. So I feel every bit as confident in voting for this budget as I did some 16, 17 years ago.
It's
I
great
would add
staff.
Yes,
one
David.
other item to Sam's comment is just the organization and the presentation of the document, identifying departmental goals and policies, and then the accomplishments under every different program area is appreciated and gives a nice summary of what the county is doing in each program area.
Thank you, David. You know, and it's true, we've gone through this in a matter of a couple of hours, but there's, I imagine, literally hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands and thousands of hours of work over the year to track and project and meet and discuss. And that's all consolidated into this 600-page binder. When I served on the Health Advisory Board, I would always point people to the Health Department budget. If you want to know what's going on the board, the Health Advisory Board, if you want to know what's going on, take a look at that budget, because it does list in detail the people and the programs and the dollars, and it's that way for all of the work that the county does. When I talked earlier about the work of the county and my passion for local government, because that's the battleground of this war, this is really the plan. And Jen, you and Jeff and the crew horsed it all together just phenomenally. So thank you for that. I do miss the donuts, and I do miss
Yes.
the
Oh, yeah.
cold sandwiches at lunch.
Apples
Doggone
and
it.
caramel. Thank you,
Really,
Mr.
I
Chair.
wanted to mention, normally,
Yes.
we get the department heads to make their presentation, and that contact is good, and that exposure to the public is good, but that's really what I find missing.
Yes,
Otherwise, I'm very happy.
cool. We'll do that next year. Did I
vote?
What's that?
Did we vote?
No?
Not yet, not yet. There's still a motion on the floor. Any further comments? Okay, you've heard the motion to approve the budget, pass it on to the commission. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed, same sign. Hearing none, the motion carries and the budget will go forward to the commission. Any new business to bring before us before we close? Jan, Jeff?
Chair Vance,
Commissioners?
this
Yes,
is
sir.
Jeff. We did get a quick answer from IT about the status of the EHR, the Health
thank you.
Record System contract. There was a vendor selected. It's either Ensoftech or Infotech. And Dr. Cloud is the platform. Their contract is not yet signed. There are 2 issues to resolve. There's going to be some going over the draft next week. So we're close to signature on a vendor.
Good.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other business to bring before the committee? Hearing
Mr.
none, we'll
Chair?
entertain. Oh, did I hear somebody yes?
This is
Jan.
Jan. I
Yes,
just want
ma'am.
to say thank you very much to all the members of the Budget Committee. I appreciate your flexibility. We were attempting, to make sure we followed social distancing rules, and the governor's executive order allowed us to do that. So we appreciate your flexibility and our learning. We learned a lot on this end, too, with all the virtual meetings. So thank you so much.
Well, and I think I speak for the group, we appreciate your creativity. And the technical crew too, the cable crew in the back. I know they put a lot of time into it too.
Yep.
Okay, so.
Yeah, thank you, CCTV.
Yes.
So.
And transit
Entertain a
helped.
motion to adjourn, or did we just do that? No, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
I see-
moved.
David, thank you. Is there a second? The chair will second. We will adjourn to reconvene at our customary mid-year review at a time and place to be discussed, or earlier at the pleasure of the budget committee or the budget team if something comes up that they need supplemental authorization for. That being said, I think we are adjourned. Thank you all very much, and special thanks to the staff.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, Denise.
Thanks.